Okay, so I have finally gotten around to getting the Summer Asta up to level 100, getting him geared up, and actually started working on him. I have waited to do this build guide because, let's face it, there were a lot of characters dropping on Global, one right after another. Very, very good characters like Noelle, you had Julius, you had the new Season 3 Charlotte. Like, there's just a lot of good characters that you want to focus on first. So I'm going to start off this build guide video by saying if you have a better tank like Mars or Rades, you might just want to avoid building this guy altogether unless you have the extra resources, because you're typically going to want to put those resources into other better characters. Now, with that said, I do think this Asta can be a very good defender, and I think people underrate him a little bit because he does a lot in terms of defense for your team. So today we're going to talk about his skills, what skills you want to upgrade first, what skill cards you want to equip to him, what gear you want to run on Asta, whether or not you should actually be enhancing him, what talents you want to do for the talent tree, and then of course what teams he is going to fit well on for both PvP and PvE. So let's go ahead and start by taking a look at his passive here. His passive at the start of a battle, this is when reaching LR you get this passive, grants all allies status immunity for 1 turn. That is really good, pretty similar to Mars, right? So that's automatically very, very good for a free-to-play character to have for those of us on Global, because this was free for us, right? Okay, and then for skill 1, it is called Sweep Sand. It is a single target attack. It has a 60% chance to attack after inflicting remove 1 buff on an enemy. And then you can increase that activation chance up to 100% if you upgrade this skill. And then you will be guaranteed anytime he attacks with skill 1 to remove a buff from an enemy. That can be decent, but I don't think that's as good as his secondary skill and his special skill. So for skill 2, it's called Crush Watermelon. And what he's going to do is he's going to transfer 1 debuff from all allies to himself. So he could potentially end up with 3 debuffs in 1 turn. And then immediately he's going to grant self remove all debuffs. And then upon removing a debuff, grant self immortality for 1 turn. The problem is with this immortality, it's conditional, right? Other characters have immortality in their passives and they just have it when they get below a certain amount of health. Well, he only has it for the 1 turn after you've used this skill, right? So it's kind of rough for that. That's not that great, but it's something, right? And it could come in clutch once in a while, but it's just better to use immortality on characters who are guaranteed to get it, whereas his is not guaranteed. And then for the special skill, it's called Surfing. It is another single target attack, so an Asta with all single targets, and it has a 80% chance to inflict taunt on a designated enemy for 2 turns. By upgrading the skill once, that becomes a 100% chance to inflict a taunt. That right there is what I'm saying is crazy. Being able to taunt an enemy, not for 1 turn, but 2 turns, is pretty dang good. Okay, so, and that's just, and you get that additional 20% just for upgrading the skill once. So that's really, really solid. And then the second part of the skill, 25% chance to inflict taunt on all enemies for 2 turns. So not only is he guaranteed to taunt 1 person if you upgrade the skill, he has a 25% chance to inflict taunt on all the other targets. And you can also upgrade this 25% chance down here with taunt activation rate. It goes up to 34%. So you could have a 34% chance to taunt everybody and a 100% guaranteed chance to taunt 1 person. Don't make any mistakes, because the taunt skill is so invaluable. It's like really, really good. Okay, and then for his combo skill, this is going to be another single target attack. He has a 55% chance to inflict a stun status ailment on an enemy for 1 turn. So that's pretty good, and you can increase the stun activation rate up to 75%, which is solid, and you can also increase the amount of attack you do, but that's not really going to matter because he's a defender. So overall, very good stuff. Now, if you were to ask me which skill out of those 4 should you upgrade first, I would definitely say the special skill, because that activation rate is insanely good and insanely important. I would actually not do skill 2 next, and I would also not do skill 1. I would probably do my combo skill next, because that way you can switch between either going for the taunt with the special here, or you can choose to go for the stun with the combo skill here. So you could go for either of those. So I'd upgrade special, then combo. Then I would probably honestly upgrade skill 1 so you have more buff removal. And then I would go skill 2 last, because all this does is scale your attack. He's a defender mage. He's not going to do that much damage, and it's only single target, right? If it was an AoE, it might be different. You might upgrade this before you upgrade skill 1. But yeah, that's basically the order you want to do for skill upgrading. Special, combo, skill 1, then skill 2. As for skill cards, I do have his skill card equipped because obviously it was free. And when you go and take a look at it, this effect right here is an additional effect from the skill card. So upon removing a debuff, grant self an immortality buff for 1 turn. That comes from the skill card. If you don't have this skill card equipped, he will never get immortality without, a skill card to give it to him. And then below, the passive that this does, for each debuff removed, grants 7% of max HP as HP recovery. That's actually really good for a character who is a tank and drawing all the aggro, the fact that he can heal himself as well. So I think this card is actually pretty decent to have on Asta, but now that I've said that, I do have a couple of other options that I would say are equally as good. So if we take a look here at Pride Win, and we have Mars's card right here. A lot of people will probably use this already and know how good it is, but it applies a 4 to 8% fortify to yourself upon taking damage, and you can stack it up to 4 times, and the effect resets at the start of each turn. Apologies. So yeah, basically you're just going to be able to stack fortify, making him even tankier, but keep in mind, once you get a turn, that fortify will go away. And then Moonlight Necklace is another kind of general pool skill card you could get for your characters. It applies a 40 to 80% increased defense depending on how far you have it leveled. 40% base is still insanely good, and 6 to 10% increased healing to yourself. Honestly, if I was picking, I would say this is probably like one of the better cards to put on Asta. I think it's actually really solid and a really good card. So this might be one you want to run on him. And then an SR option that everybody should hopefully have would be like Loyal Sister. Has a 20% chance of applying 5 to 15% attack reduction to an enemy for 1 turn upon taking damage. Okay, so that is pretty decent. So those are the options I would run on this Asta. Out of all those skill cards, right, I do think Moonlight Necklace is potentially the best, but if you don't have it, you could always go for the SR option, or you could go for Mars skill card and just switch it on to Asta if you think that's the way to go. Okay, now beyond skills, let's take a look at his gear. So this is the gear I have on him currently. You do want to build him for attack because he has no magic attack whatsoever, okay? And then you're also going to mainly be building for sets. You're going to build for a defense, and I prefer an HP set, but you could do like 2 defense and a speed set or something like that. It's just really up to you. I like doing this build right here because it's taking Asta, who's already tanky, making him even more tanky with a bigger health pool, right? And I think that's the best way to go. And typically with Asta, you're not going to want him to be going first, so you might not want to run a speed set. He is pretty slow. But remember, after he uses his skill 2, he gets immortality. So if you don't go right away, that means Asta will keep that immortality longer. So it's almost better for him to be slower. So that's why I probably wouldn't recommend a speed set. But if you want Asta to be faster, you could. Okay, now if you look at these gears here, the main stats I'm going to have is like defense and attack. Okay, so this right here is magic attack. I need to switch it out for attack eventually. But then we have attack, then we have defense, attack. This one's magic attack as well, needs to be attack, and then attack. I just haven't gotten all the attack pieces of gear I need, but eventually I'll switch out those 2 magic attack pieces and go for attack pieces. Now, in terms of sets that you're looking for a gold defense set, a regular defense set, and an HP set. If you don't know what a set is, when you go in, you can equip 2 pieces of a set, like the Great Merchant's Collection, the statue from the village, and then also perfume from the village. And when you have 2 pieces collected on your character, it gives you defense plus 30%. If you equip all 4 pieces, it grants 40% increased defense and 8% fortify, which is pretty solid for a gold set. Then for the regular defense set, you can see right here, 2 pieces gives you 250. And so the difference between gold and regular sets is regular sets are over here. They don't have a gold star on them like over here, where this attack has a gold star, gold star, gold star, right? That gold star means that they are just simply better gear sets and they're going to give you better stats. So whenever you can, go for gold sets. But that is how I would gear this free-to-play Asta. And then in terms of enhancement, should you be enhancing him? Well, at level 2, for each active taunt an enemy is afflicted with, grants 3% reduced damage taken. That's not that great, okay? I don't think it's worth like spending versatile mage pieces for this. If they gave us more of him for free, then you could potentially dupe him out, but I probably wouldn't dupe him out with versatile mage pieces or at all really, unless I just got lucky and got him later. But right now he's not even featured on the banners. Took his place. And then getting him to 5 stars, for each active taunt an enemy is afflicted with, grants 7% reduced damage taken. So you go from 3% here to 7% by getting all the way up to 5 stars. You do get a little bit more crit resist, but like still, even then, it's not super great. So in terms of enhancement, should you do it? I would say probably not. Now for talents, the way you want to build talents on this guy, you are going to want to go for defense plus 20%, the stacking defense and crit resist right here. And then on support, you're going to want to get his special back faster because let's face it, that's the best part of his whole kit with the taunts. And so you want to go for swiftness, and then you also want to go for increased damage resist. You could potentially go for Mage's Blessing if you're running his skill card, because then that might give you a chance to get immortality up more often. But ideally, I would probably go for swiftness and I'd go for damage resist. And then in terms of attack, it really doesn't matter. You can go for crit rate, you can go for attack, you can go for damage dealt, you could go for crit damage. Any of those four, you just would not touch the magic attack one because he has no magic attack, and you probably aren't going to use the boss one. So these four in general are kind of the four I would go with. Pick whichever one you want for the attack tree. Once again, it's probably not going to matter because he is a defensive character. And now let's go ahead and take a look at the potential teams for this Asta. So if I go over here, I already have some pre-made teams for you guys. So this is a team that I think would actually do very well in Arena. I just basically switched out the tank I would have here, or the speed character. So normally I have like Valtos on this team. I'm switching it out for a more tanky build. I could also run Rades in this spot. I could also run Mars in this spot, but I think Asta is a good free-to-play option if you lack Rades or Mars. So this is a team that he could definitely do well on in PvP and PvE. This is just a solid team all the way around for her support, his damage, her barriers, and the tankiness. Like it's a solid team. Then in this team right here, this is an all red team, an idea you guys could potentially run for PvP. Yuno is very fast because it gives himself a mobility buff at the start, and if Yuno is able to go, you can use Asta as your tank, you can use Noelle for barrier and damage, and then Yami for damage as well. This red team would probably work out. I'm not going to say the best, but it would work out decently in PvP. You're always going to come across like blue teams that are just insane, right? And don't run an all red team against the blue team because you're probably not going to win. But I would say this team right here is more of a PvP oriented team, and this team is kind of both. It's both PvE and PvP. So that is it for Asta's build guide. If you guys did enjoy the video, please consider going down there, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button. I'm still trying to reach 10,000 subscribers, and I could really use your guys' help. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.